I've spent countless hours studying the inner workings of habits and discipline, and throughout all of this, I've found one detail that has the power to single-handedly transform your consistency and fully replace your need for motivation. All it will take is a couple minutes of compact, efficient, actionable information, and you'll instantly be 11 times more likely to be disciplined tomorrow. So right about now, you might be asking, what exactly is this concept that's supposed to revolutionize my thinking about consistency? Well, I'm going to explain it to you in one quote. You don't lack motivation, you lack clarity. Now you might be like, what does that mean? Motivation is so powerful and it can help me so much, and clarity, that's not going to replace motivation. Well, alright then. I want you to think about the habit that you struggle the most with in terms of being consistent. If right now I asked you when you're going to do that habit tomorrow, what time specifically you're going to do that at, would you be able to answer? If I asked you where you're going to do that habit, would you answer? If I ask you how you're going to do that habit or what specifically you're going to be doing as you do that habit, will you be able to answer all of these questions? Because if you said no for even a single one of these, then that's a problem, and that's one of the biggest things holding you back from being totally consistent. Let's look at a really quick example. Let's say you want to study really hard tomorrow, but in your head, you don't know when exactly you're going to study, you don't know which assignments exactly you're going to do, or which chapters of the textbook you're going to study. You just know that you're going to study. All you have in your head is this vague idea of study really hard. Chances are, you are not going to study really hard the next day. Why? Well, you see, clarity has a lot of important factors that it contributes to your consistency. First of all, it very much simplifies decision making. Our brain always likes to go down the path of least resistance, and the easier you can make the habit to do, the more likely you will be to do it. This makes a lot of sense just logically. A hard habit is going to be harder to do than an easy habit. Duh. And the thing is, when you leave a lot of the decisions about that habit to be done as you're doing that habit, so for example, you don't know which assignments you're going to do, you don't know when exactly you're going to study. Those are decisions that have to be made, and those decisions, that decision making, is an extra piece of effort that's holding you back from doing that habit. Additionally, clarity acts as a sort of cue. Do you ever have it where you're like, oh, I'm gonna do that thing tomorrow, and then you totally forget to do that thing tomorrow? Well, it's likely because you weren't clear enough with the exact cue you're gonna have to start. You don't know where, when, how, all of those things. If you had all of them answered, you would be statistically more likely to remember to do the habit. Additionally, and this is a very big one, it removes ambiguity, which removes procrastination. Going back to that studying example, I know I'm using it a lot, but it just helps to have an example. If you just say, I'm gonna study really hard tomorrow and don't give a time, you might get home from school and be like, I wanna study, I know I should study, but I can do it later. I still have time. I only need to do X number of hours and I can just watch YouTube for an hour. And then, you finish watching YouTube for an hour, which was more like 2 hours, and you're like, yeah, I should really study, but I don't want to right now, and I only need to do X number of hours. I can do it later. And you keep pushing it back and back and back and back. You've probably had this experience more than once. And the reason you had that experience is because you didn't have clarity on when you would do that habit, which allowed your brain to procrastinate and say, oh, I can do it later. When you set a clear, set in stone, immovable time that this habit needs to start at, it's so much harder for your brain to say, oh, I'll do it later, because there is no later. You've already decided, I'm going to do it now. And all this stuff about clarity is not something I'm making up on my own. This idea of clarity is supported by a lot of other people talking about habits. So for example, the book Atomic Habits talks about the importance of clarity, and it's also been backed by science and experiments. So right about now, you might be like, okay, I get it, clarity is important, but how can I implement this into my own life? And I'm glad you asked, because Clarity is the easiest way to ensure you'll be more disciplined because it only takes like 30 seconds to implement and it makes a massive difference. The first thing I want you to do is just answer in your mind, if you haven't already, the what, when, how, why, all of those questions. And this isn't like one of the actionable steps, but it's just good to know. Like if you don't know these things, then like what are you doing? Just actually think about those really quickly right now. You can pause the video if you want. But the first actionable step, once you know these things, is an intention statement. For this, you want to take out a piece of pen and paper or just a notes app, or sometimes you can get away with saying it out loud, but really I found that writing it down is the best. Once you have that, you need to copy this exact script. On day, at exactly time, I will go to location and I will do action. Just writing out this statement, which takes you realistically like 15 seconds, has been shown to increase your chances of being disciplined when it comes to doing that habit. And not just by a small amount, it actually has a significant impact, which is like, if it does and it only takes 15 seconds, why not just do this? So that's an actionable step for you right now. Do it, just try it. Right now, go and try writing out an intention statement for the habit you want. Next, let's move on to the second thing, which is visualizing it. Right now, I want you to close your eyes with me and just think about everything that's going to happen before and right as you start doing that habit. So close your eyes, think about what you'll be doing where directly before the habit. Think about it becoming time for you to do that habit. Think about you realizing that you need to do that habit. Think about you going to that exact location, starting the habit in the exact way you want to. Also, visualize the resistance. Really visualize the excuses that are going to come up in your brain, what your brain is going to think, the cope, and be like, oh no, I'll do it later. Think about that. Imagine it as vividly as you can. And again, as vividly as you can, imagine overcoming that and doing the habit anyway. Imagine all of that with as much detail and with as much clarity as you can, because this as well, just like the intention statement, is a quick exercise you can do in like 15 seconds. But this too has been shown scientifically to increase your chances of doing that habit. And both of them operate on the level of clarity, which just goes to show how effective this clarity thing actually is. And another great thing about clarity is that it's not varying like motivation is. If you rely on motivation, you're gonna have ups and downs and ups and downs, but clarity, you can have clarity every day. Clarity doesn't go away unless you stop working on the clarity, which is really nice. So you might be asking, or you might not be asking, you're probably not asking, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. You might be asking, how do I implement clarity into not just a single habit, but my life in general, so that I'm better at managing my time and are more productive in general and don't slack off as much? Well, I'm glad you asked. Schedule out your day. Just what I do personally is every morning during my morning routine, I just take out my phone and I schedule out what I'm gonna do during the day. It doesn't take that much time, but when I get back from school, let's say it's a school day, I just follow that schedule, and that is a level of clarity that I introduce to everything I do. And suddenly, would you look at that, I'm a lot more productive. I do a lot more of my habits because, again, I have clarity and I just have this lack of procrastination that follows me around with every activity that I do. So that's just a really helpful tip. You don't have to follow it, but the previous two, definitely do them now, and you'll thank me later tomorrow when you are consistent with your habit. And listen, what I've told you here is great and all, but it's not everything. There are multiple important tips and key concepts just like this that if you put all of them together ensures like 100% chance consistency. And I have made all of this available to you for free, and it's the first link in the description. It's not a paid course or anything. It's just a website where I hold all of my free resources, and one of them is this worksheet that you can do so that you instantly are more likely to be consistent with habits. There's also just a full free course on productivity that's gonna help you double your productivity in just less than an hour's worth of content. Again, it's 100% free, and it's some of the most valuable content I have ever created, so there's no risk. Just click on the link and you're going to get a lot of free value. But with that being said, that's all I have for you in today's video. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm has already decided on a few new videos. I think they'll be here that you might be interested. More by me. You can subscribe over here. If I'm pointing in the wrong direction, this is going to be really stupid, but I think you can subscribe over here and watch videos over here, or the other way around. But yeah, good luck, man.